for this edition of Campfire is T. Edward Nickens, who will be reading a story of his own titled The Swamp, published in the 2024 issue of Field and Stream, the Wilderness issue. Take it away, Eddie.
On a cold fall morning, I ease into a swamp, rippling the still surface of the water where stars are spangled in a mirror image of the dark sky. As I pull each waders-clad boot from the muck, I can smell the dark landscape around me. To my nose, it is neither rank nor foul. Yes, there's a tinge of rotten egg smell, that sulfuric odor that speaks of decay. That's not what hangs in the nose. To me, a swamp smells clean and full of life, of lives lived and gone and lives yet to come. It promises a sunrise through fingertips of bare cypress and water oak that cleanses the soul. I'm in a place where time binds each element, mud, water, shrub, tree, like mortar between bricks. The passage of time is felt in every downed tree I almost trip over, in every gurgle from the mud. Time for rotting and renewal, and it's almost time for the ducks to show. "Boy, you love a swamp like Peter loved the Lord," said my farmer pal one day, after I told him I'd found a new beaver pond on his property, small and tucked away so deep in his woods that I bet he didn't even know it was there. I think he meant it as a compliment. I took it as one. It may be that my love for swamps is rooted in my earliest years as a duck hunter. I didn't grow up on a river or on the coast. I didn't have access to duck impoundments or duck clubs. I had no private land to hunt on, no pals with duck boats. I did, however, have nearly 90,000 acres of public land nearby, surrounding 3 large public lakes, and those lakes were fed with tributary streams where beaver dams could run one after the other for a mile. I had good knees and a strong paddle stroke, and no aversion at all to getting a face full of spider webs or the occasional run-in with a coppermouth rattle moccasin. I had no way to hunt ducks but to find ducks, and nowhere to do that but in the gnarliest, hardest to get to swamps on the landscape. I nearly killed myself getting into some of these places, miles-long hikes down railroad tracks, the cross ties of which seemed purposefully designed to make it impossible to step from one to the next while wearing waders. Death marches through clear cuts. Only once in hundreds of duck hikes was I injured. That was a doozy, requiring surgery to stitch a tattered knee back together again. But blood, sweat, and cartilage tears were a small price to pay for the gifts of a swamp. When the ducks do come, they come too early, of course. They are ducks. They know the rules. I hear a screeching whistle up the creek, like a door on a rusty hinge, and move the shotgun muzzle toward the sound. It's not too early to shoot, but in a small swamp ringed with tall trees, it's simply too early to see. Duck-like shapes streak overhead too quickly to track with the gun. A bird splashes down, nearly close enough to touch. I freeze. Then the wood duck has second thoughts, and all I see is a froth of water as it takes to the sky. I throw the gun to my shoulder, but the duck vanishes in the treetops like a phantom of winged smoke. I slow my breathing and calm my nerves. There are rarely 2 or 3 wood ducks in a swamp. There are either none, or there are 10, or 20, or 50, which means there are more likely to come. The light is rising, like the air of a warming morning. Tops of the cypress trees aren't yet on fire with first light, but the scales are starting to tip in my favor. I can make out the horizontal line of the beaver dam at the head of the pond. If a bird dips below the tree line, it will not disappear. There's more squealing. I hear wings in the flooded woods behind me, and a pair of woodies barrels in. No mere shapes now. I can pick out the crest of the drake and track the duck with its feet splayed. This time the shotgun comes up smoothly and with purpose, and I pull the trigger on my own terms. Morning in a wood duck swamp, and you can see it all coming. But here's the paradox. In a place fashioned by the passage of time, there's really not much time at all. 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, and the wood ducks are mostly done. I'll linger for a while with fingers crossed. I've shot mallards, black ducks, blue-winged teal, gadwall, northern shovelers, ringnecks, widgeon, and a dumped truckload of big fat Canada geese in beaver swamps. But for sure, the dawned wood duck flight is the typical game. So I move behind a standing tree and wait. There is nothing in this world like a duck swamp at dawn. More ducks or no more ducks, it doesn't seem to matter much. I tell myself, I think I'll give it a bit more time.
You tell a good story, my friend.
Tell it, I can run my mouth.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. And yeah, thanks everyone for listening and watching. And we'll see you next time on the Field and Stream podcast.